Good evening. Tonight we're going to do an analysis of the movie Oppenheimer. We did Barbie, so now we're doing Oppenheimer. So we'll have the whole Barbenheimer thing all sewn up, right? All right. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen and open up Dramatic Story Expert. And then we're going to identify the four through lines. I dropped in the IMDb description for the overall story. Actually, it's a pretty good one. The story of an American scientist, Robert Oppenheimer, and his role in the development of the atomic bomb. It's a description. I think we might have, by the end of this tonight, we might have a much better description for it, but it is one possible description. So is everybody okay with that? As a generically overall story through line in a more traditional sense?
Sure, but I really do wish it would have been. It was the best of hearings. It was the worst of hearings. I'll take my literary sense to back.
Yes.
I thought you were going to start reading the Sanskrit.
Now I become snarky.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. So,
Now I become
well,
snarky.
let's talk about the overall story a little bit. Anybody have there seems to be a sort of two major aspects to this story. One is the backstory about how Oppenheimer made the bomb. And then there's the after story, after that story, which is after the bomb is dropped and all of that, and Oppenheimer is now a celebrated personality, particularly in the science world. There is the whole issue about his clearances and his relationship with the senator, Senator Strauss.
No, that was Strauss is not a senator. He's
a general. He's an admiral. That's right.
Yeah, he's
an admiral.
He's a civilian admiral.
Secretary.
Yeah.
Is a what admiral?
A civilian admiral. He was just he never really served. He was promoted for the stuff he did for the Navy. That's why he insists on being called.
Right. Yes, that's right. I read a little bit up on him. Yeah. So anyway, Louis Strauss, not Strauss. And so there's essentially the color movie and there's the black and white movie, which that's kind of this storytelling, the choice that directly to make sure that you understood which parts of which story were going on. And whether or not they're one story or two stories, that's the one thing I want us to sort of talk about up front, because if it's one story, then we have one set of main character and influence characters. And if it's two stories, we may have two sets of characters and influence characters. So, one is either going to be just backstory to the main story, or it's going to be one long story, or it's two separate stories. Anybody have some thoughts on that?
I had a couple thoughts, because I struggle to see in the main storyline who the influence character is, but it felt to me like it wasn't the Strauss character, but the Strauss character felt more like a main character in a separate story, where Oppenheimer would be more the influence character if that was a separate story, is kind of the feeling I got, but I don't know for sure if there's I don't know if I got like a full sense of a full story in the Strauss kind of side of things. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm bringing this up.
So this is Nick, and I had some of those same problems. And then I thought, if I were to generalize this as to the groups of people involved in the overall storyline, I could come up with a group of politicals and scientists struggle over channeling atomic development. And that would be a kind of unifying all the way through both stories. The problem with Strauss, of course, is he doesn't come in until well, I didn't time it exactly, but he definitely doesn't come in until several years after the bomb is dropped. About 3 or 4, I think. And the first time he does meet Oppenheimer is when he invites him to Princeton, which is well after the bomb has already been dropped.
Yes.
So, and I am not sure that while in the more recent story, the black and white story, I can see a protagonist Strauss and an antagonist Oppenheimer, and either one could be reversed. I'm not sure that I see either impacting the other in any other way, other than as antagonist and protagonist.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got the sense that like Strauss was very fixated on Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer really didn't care one way or the other about Strauss. It was
Well,
kind of the sense I got. I don't know if that's really accurate, but
I think it sounds pretty much like it, but the thing about an influence character, they don't have to even be aware of the main character and their character's issues. The fact that they have that impact or influence or effect on the main character is what makes them the main character. I mean, an influence character. Let's
Can
Jim, yeah, I wanted to hear what you thought.
it's so great having Nick back. Because Nick provides the objectivity. I would say I got the impression that the color was the subjective through lines and the black and white was the objective. I think that was like very on purpose. So that, like what Nick said, protagonist, antagonist, but not a whole lot of main character, influence character. Whereas, and I think it's just one story form, whereas the color stuff is predominantly main character with whoever the influence character handoffs are, and then a pretty significant relationship is carried in that. But that the hearing is the objective story. The hearing mixed with, it's kind of like the hearing for Strauss, but then also the interrogation hearing of what's his name?
Yeah.
Of Oppenheimer. Kind of like
Yeah.
it's all one thing about, are you a communist, Mr. Senator? You know, that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
I would add to what Jim is saying that, and again, this is when we start looking to see if there's an impact character, and that was a little bit of a struggle for me compared to the relationship story, but that there could very well be a handoff between Groves and Strauss, because they carry the same type of idea of containment, compartmentalization, keeping things tight knit for security reasons, and that seemed to be impacting or influencing back and forth Oppenheimer as a main character. We see him struggle with and against that.
Yeah, and I think all the sort of, are you a communist versus fascist, leading to I'm a, what was it, carpetbagger Democrat or something, whatever he
Oh yeah,
referred
a New Deal Democrat.
New Deal Democrat, that's right. I feel like, and the way that Nick posed it, like senators versus scientists, or I think political versus scientists,
Politicals, yeah.
would be kind of the whole scope of the overall story.
Right.
That's what everybody's arguing. And I read something really cool one time that fission and fusion is meant to, I forget which one's which, but I think fission is supposed to be fascism and fusion is supposed to be communism. And that's supposed to be the two forces that are at play.
Which are the two that they introduce up front, one in black and white and one in color?
Yeah. So it's something there's something really, really cool about the fact that he used both and that those forces are analogized through those political ideologies.
Huh.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, remember that a fusion reaction has to be set off by a fission reaction. If that makes any, if that fits into the analogy.
Because I think the fusion is the H bomb, right? Isn't that what?
Right. That's thermonuclear. That's fusion.
Which and while they're doing the fission, it's like most people are focused on the Germans, but Matt Damon is like, no, it's the Russians, and he's like, who are we really against? Like they're already planning for the communists.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with your take on that, because that's kind of the way it seems to play out, in terms of one being the OS and the other one the subjective story, and all of the subjective through lines, including the relationship story. And clearly the players move back and forth between them. I think there's a weird with the thing is that the timing is very odd, because the end of the movie is the end of the relationship through line, and the beginning the overall story. I mean, not all the pieces of the overall story, because that's not the backstory of the overall story is in the relationship through line, the logistics side of the relationship through line, but the that moment with him and Albert Einstein and Louis Strauss thinking it's all about him, and that picking his enemy, thinks it's all Oppenheimer's fault, but some reason
Albert's not his BFF anymore.
yeah, well, I gave the shoulder, coming away. I think that was something very critical, and so the fact that they withheld it to the end of the movie allows through weaving allows it to all pretty much wrap up at the same time, even though not chronologically the same time, but movie wise the same time. So it's kind of it's sort of like the end and the beginning. The moment when Oppenheimer switches from being the sort of the pro bomb, I'm not, it's not my job to care, to the anti H bomb, move aside. Yeah, because I think if you put it in chronological order, it would not work very well, because you just have a very weak overall story with a really strong subjective story in the first half, and you have no subjective story at all in the second half.
What would you define as the subjective story in the first half? Between Oppenheimer and whom?
Well, partly his wife, Kitty, partly his lover. I mean, it's kind of like his relationship, his emotional journey is what it's kind of him about, and perhaps even there are, you know, even like with the very end with Einstein, he kind of has that again, here are these great minds with other that see the world in a way that's different than me, because he sees it, everything as being sort of very pragmatic, and he's getting all these warnings from all these people saying you're looking at the world wrong, and you're being, you know, you're blind to it. You know, Kitty being a big one. I mean, that's one of the ways I'd say it, but I think that there are probably several characters that sort of fill in that role that are, you know, that it's sort of almost like peppered in the backstory. These key people who have a different worldview than he does, that ultimately he seems to adopt.
Okay. You do think he adopts it? Okay.
Well, by at the very end, where he's basically going, you know, like the holy, pardon my French, holy shit, what you were worrying about, what you know, what we talked about before, you know, that this might be the end of the world, as opposed to, it looks like this is going to be the end of the world, as opposed to it's that 2%, not the 98%, you know. And he was clearly on the, well, it's 98% likely that it's going to behave like we expect, but you know, it's theory. But by the time he talks to Einstein by the pond, he's pretty convinced that he may have done the wrong thing, you know, and has, you know, like Prometheus, has brought fire to the humans and is going to burn for it forever.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well for Prometheus either.
Right. No, he didn't.
His liver is still getting picked at by crows. I mean, still to this day. You know, so
I don't think they're crows, but yeah.
Or vultures or whatever.
Yeah, I think they're vultures. So yeah. So I think that your take on that, but the black and white and color, I think it's really savvy. To me, that's
well, yeah, that was obviously purposeful, but no, a couple of things that observations that are interesting. Something that Levi says, that positing that maybe if the Lewis Strauss story is a separate story from the, you know, Los Alamos story, then you could conceive of Strauss as being a main character in that aspect of it. If we were to separate, you know, those two stories from each other, but
I wouldn't make him the main character in that. If I was going to do that, I was going to separate it, make him the main character. I'd make the aide the main character, because
the aide
otherwise you have such an unreliable narrator as a main character. Yeah, the one who's
he's kind of the Greek chorus. I didn't feel personally connected to the aide, but he is kind of a Greek chorus kind of role there.
He's the
conscience role.
We don't know anything about all, you know, we're the fly on the wall. We don't really understand what's going on. And you know, it's really interesting. My recollection of the movie, of his role in the movie, is quite a bit different than my reviewing it, because I thought he was the one who actually set him up. I thought he was responsible for the one who finally came in and torpedoed him, because of basically what Strauss was saying. No, I know.
It was Rami Malek, yeah.
Yeah, who brought in, Rami Malek. I thought that was the senator's aide that eventually sees how rotten that Strauss is, that he actually ended up. But he wasn't on the list, and it just seemed to be.
It was very much Strauss's own doing. He said, "Go get somebody from Chicago," and then he thought that Hill would be okay, because Hill came from Chicago.
Mhm.
He was the scientist from Chicago, and Chicago never got over how Oppenheimer didn't sign their petition not to drop the bomb, blah blah blah, and Strauss pegged it wrong.
Right.
But-
Anyway, that's what I'm just
but-
saying, that my recollection of it before I rewatched it was that there was that Strauss's aide is the one who kind of, having seen how duplicitous Strauss was, he enabled that to happen, as opposed to picking someone from Chicago that would have been supportive of Strauss and anti-Oppenheimer. He picked someone who was clearly the opposite. So just, again,
Right.
on watching it again, I didn't see that, but it was just how my mind put it together to make sense of it.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
agree with you. I definitely got the sense that the handler for the nomination, which is what you've been calling the aide, that he may have not been fully behind Strauss's nomination.
no, not when he sees when he sees the evidence. But I think what's interesting is I could see a subjective relationship. You could define a subjective relationship between Oppenheimer and Strauss in that if they were to have a "you and I are just alike" conversation, they'd say "you and I are just alike." Well, we're both full of ourselves. But where we differ is that Oppenheimer doesn't care what anyone thinks about him personally, because he just goes and does his thing. He says, he speaks his mind. He kind of doesn't care what people think about him. But Strauss really cares what people think about him. And that's, of course, revealed by the fact that he took, Einstein's snub personally when it wasn't meant when it wasn't meant personally. And the aide points out, well, maybe it wasn't about you. And so those are two men with really, tremendous egos, but one's way more insecure than the other. So that's how I could see a possible main influence character relationship be defined. Maybe.
right. It's just and it depends. This is where I think it depends on how you look at the structure, not the structure of the story, but the structure of the film as story. If the structure of if it's put together the way it's put together, like it was like they're ignoring time, then I could easily see that, because you see the sort of the back and forth between the two of them. But the reality, and at the end, Oppenheimer is the change character and Strauss is not. But the logistics of that just doesn't make sense then. If you try it, it's kind of the same way with Pulp Fiction. If you look at Pulp Fiction in the order in which it's delivered, it actually, I think, makes a fairly decent argument. But if you try to put it in the order in which things chronologically happen, it doesn't have any, it's just a bunch of bits and pieces of different kinds of stories. So
Right. I agree. I think that observation is right on, in that if you were to lay it out chronologically, it would just feel like a series of things that happened. But what Christopher Nolan did is he created an emotional arc, I think, for Oppenheimer that again, goes from the middle to the beginning to the end to the middle to the beginning to the and then finally to the end, if you count the I think it's supposed to be LBJ who gave him the Medal of Honor.
I think that was the denouement. I don't think that's where the judgment is. I think the judgment, that's
right.
just we don't want to leave everybody in such a crappy mood. Let's give them a little, oh, look, before he died, he got this little bit.
Right, but it's also very much a throwback to what Eisenstein said to Oppenheimer. The award was not for the recipient. the award was for the givers.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Right. But emotionally he wanted to end on a I guess you could say bad place. Um so there is an emotional flow that in the way it's laid out that makes sense. That wouldn't have made sense otherwise.
Oh yeah, no, it does. So I would go on I mean, it seems to me that we should probably treat this structurally as a single story. You know,
I
woven
agree.
in a
This is
very
Nick.
complicated fashion. But only complicated if you're really looking at the calendar, right? You know, the calendar of events. Not as opposed to the story form line. It's just the story form doesn't follow a calendar. It's following the flow of the events to build that
Of the emotions and themes. It's following that flow.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
I feel like
so-
setting it with the hearings makes it so like that's kind of where the plot is, and then most of the emotion of it is just told backstory. You know, so I don't know if it's really, I don't know if that breaks it or not. You know what I mean? Like in terms of
No, it doesn't, especially since it was woven together into
yeah.
one complete piece that goes back and forth between them. So yeah, no, it's consistent. You just have to kind of ignore the when of the ending.
Yeah.
Because it gives us the understanding for when that character, where that character is at that moment in the movie, at the end of the movie. So we'll be able to talk about this. So from a main character point of view, who do we just think is the main character?
Oppenheimer.
Okay.
Because we see we see all the we see what's inside his head. We see the
literally.
The neurons firing, the
Nightmares.
Right.
Right. Okay. And in characters, who might they? Yes. Let's get some.
I mean, I think you had Kitty, you had, I forget the Florence Pugh character's name.
Jean.
Jean Tatlock.
Yeah.
The lover.
Possibly as a handoff, but I don't know if she has a ton
Jean,
of a role. But
Jean, Jean.
Okay.
And then possibly Groves, but his felt a little more objective story to me.
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he challenges. He's logistical. Yeah, I don't think he's.
Yeah, and then Strauss, I don't know if I saw enough connection, but again, maybe that doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, sometimes you can have two characters representing different worldviews that cross paths only a few times. There was that Russell Crowe Denzel Washington movie that was like that, but I would nominate Strauss as a candidate for influence character for the reasons I already stated. But it's likely a handoff in any event.
Right. Sorry, I'm back. That was me.
Oh.
Well, we solved the story for him. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, well that's great. I'll have to watch the video.
We did it like chronologically out of order, but if you go back and watch it.
Yes, this was an intentional effect. Okay, so should we put Strauss in here or not? Strauss?
I think so. And in my personal opinion, I do think that because Strauss is,
we'll have to look and see.
yeah.
Remember, they're all gonna share a similar.
Yeah, I think there's
structure
handoffs along the way.
perspective, so. All
I
right.
mean, there's also that other character. I don't remember the guy's name. But there was, I think he was another Jewish character who they had the conversation on the train.
Izzy,
seemed-
or I think it's Izzy.
He had glasses, I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
could
pretty-
see him having a kind of a similar, like you're going too far, kind of.
Stretching
have a
yourself thin
Yeah, they had a little bit of a back and forth a few scenes earlier
and
on
show
in the
off in
film.
Yiddish.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, I know what the problem is.
Spitzer, yeah. That was Rabbi. His nickname was
Right.
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
I think it was
Mhm.
Isidore Rabbi something or another, and I don't remember his last name.
I've got a couple things. I'm just closing some programs that I think are probably screwing me up.
Ah. Eating up your memory.
Okay. That should help. All right. So, do you want me to put, what is his name? You said Izzy?
Yeah, Isidore Rabi. He's mostly called Rabi, R-A-B-I.
R-A-B.
R-A-B-I, yeah.
Yeah.
Isidore was his first name. That's why he was called Izzy sometimes.
Okay. And so relationships here. What kinds of relationship? Oppenheimer and Kitty, I mean, they're married, but what kind of a relationship?
Well, I would put marriage. Isn't that what you're?
All right. The thing is that they are married, but I don't think that defines their relationship. You know, there's this.
No, she pushes him. She pushes him.
Oh, she definitely does. Right. I mean, it's kind of like they have a.
I almost want to say manager.
Well, yeah, married is fine for now. And Jean is lover.
I mean,
Strauss is obviously an antagonist, but what relationship? What kind of a relationship would Strauss and Oppenheimer have as a relationship?
Well, I mean, they're colleagues.
No, because Strauss is not a scientist. Remember, that was the whole thing. Is it's the scientist versus.
On the other hand, they are colleagues because they both serve on the same energy commissions. The Energy Commission, the Atomic Energy Commission, the General Atomic.
We don't see that though.
That's the whole Chicago meeting around the big table when the bomb is found. The Russian bomb.
The Russian bomb.
And the filter papers.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
And where else we see it is when Oppenheimer makes fun of him in the earlier Senate hearing and says, you know, you could use a beer to make an atomic bomb, and you do. You could use a shovel to make an atomic. They were sitting on the same committee.
Right.
Oppenheimer was coming out against Strauss then.
Right. So they have a professional relationship that Strauss perceived to be a constant embarrassment to him.
Yes.
So that's why there is an emotional relationship, even though most of the relationship is one-sided. Yeah.
Well, they're not. I'd say less colleagues than more rivals.
Yeah.
I could live with that.
I could live with a rival. Yeah.
And Robbie is a friend, right? That's like
yes.
Yeah. Okay. He's more of a colleague. All right.
Yes.
Well, isn't that it's kind of interesting? All right, let's then I think your prediction, Nick, might be accurate. Um, yeah, just saying.
Yeah.
Well, look, when you're basing a story on real events and real people, things are going to get complicated. Yeah.
Well, sure. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons why it was structured. It was told the way it was to try to conform it as much to a narrative and be as true to the events as possible.
Mhm.
All right. Main character resolve, change or steadfast. So does Oppenheimer change his fundamental way of seeing the world, or is he a steadfast character and sort of stays the course? And give an explanation as to why you think it's one or the other.
I mean, I do think he's probably more of a change character in the sense that, like, at least like where he, like you'd mentioned a few examples before of like how he's like, I can't think off the top of my head, but like the 99%, you know, he seems a lot more confident and a lot more yeah. but then the other part that I was struggling with is like I don't really see whose position he adopts.
True. Here's the thing. He's very complicated. Okay, so there's a lot to him. But if I think there's one thing that in terms of what about him that creates conflicts with the rest of the world, he's very self-indulgent.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Damon says, "Oh, you're a womanizer and you're a communist, potential communist sympathizer, and all these things." And it's just the self-indulgence. Whereas calling himself just a patriot of the country is kind of a throwaway. But he starts taking the "I am loyal to this country" idea or identity more and more seriously as time goes on. And in a way, he's kind of forced into doing that, but you also get the sense that he's being sincere about it. Um, you know, and so I think if anything, if there's any kind of change or transition, it's that he just goes from being self-indulgent to he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him to actually caring kind of how he's identified, what people think about him. So
I mean, another thing I guess would be
I would
having taking no responsibility to like taking responsibility for like what
yeah,
happened. I mean, that seems like a big
that
thing. He seems like, oh, I'm just a scientist. I don't do anything. But even like his conversation with the president, and he's like, he seems very concerned about, and the president basically is just like, no, I did it, But it's still like I don't think he would have had that conversation at the beginning. But I don't know. It almost feels like the bomb itself is the impact character, but I don't think that's it, right?
So this is Nick, and I think that he is a change character. I think where we see the biggest change is that as the movie starts out chronologically, he's young, he's brash, he's going after as much of the accolades. He doesn't have a lot of self-doubt. Sandy would say he has a lot of self-indulgence. But at the end, in his hearing, his whole strategy, to the consternation of his wife, is he plays the martyr.
Mm-hmm.
And that has not been how he portrays himself. That's not how he's portrayed through the whole movie that we see in the color part. But during chronologically, but during then he lets them pound him. And I know that's kind of a doer to beer change, and that'll be my argument later on. But that's his change. Is he is betting that by letting them pound him, history will forgive him for the bomb.
Wow.
And that's what Kitty and he talk about at the end.
That sounds really good to me.
I feel doesn't Robert Downey Jr. Strauss, doesn't he voice basically that same sentiment towards the end? I thought he basically
Yes,
has
he
a
does.
line
Yes,
that
he
says
does.
that.
Robert Downey, his character actually pegged Oppenheimer pretty well.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely right. Oppenheimer never took back, never said we shouldn't have bombed, at least
Yeah.
through the movie.
Right. I'm good with that argument. Anybody?
Yeah, that was convincing to me.
Yeah, very good to have you back, Nick.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. Main character approach.
You just skip this. You already said it.
Yeah, I was
All
going
we
to
have
say
is
doer as
everybody
well.
okay with it.
I was going to say doer as well. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm going to build a
Give
town.
examples.
I'm going to build a town. I'm going to make everything the way I want it to be, and I'm going to invent a bomb.
Start earlier.
Right.
I'm going to
I
poison
think,
the
I
guy.
think poisoning the
Yeah,
apple was
that's
pretty
a
much
really
a
good
doer.
one.
Ah, yes,
Well,
yes.
I'm going to go to Germany. I'm going to go to England. I'm going to go. You know, he's like, I'm not going to just. I'm going to go visit these people and do do what's necessary to get to the right minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that tells everybody else in the classroom that there's this special talk that's going to happen. So everybody ended up doing something because he's the one that told them about it at the
Yeah,
very
Well, yeah,
beginning.
he sets it up in his classroom, right?
Yeah.
Right. The
So
union
organizing
thing, yeah.
the scientists. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Again, that's perfect. Those are great examples of. And at the end, when he's basically being pilloried,
Another example of doer on a personal level is he takes a colicky kid and gives him away.
yeah,
Please take care of my baby because it's going to tear apart our marriage, and he's
no,
getting in the way.
because we're bad parents.
Right.
So that's what he said.
Mm,
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's an excellent example. Very good.
yeah.
Your memory, Nick. Oh, it's just a wonder to behold. Okay, main character problem solving style. Linear.
Linear.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I don't
I'm
know.
leaning towards linear, but I don't really have a good example or a strong argument for it.
I mean, in many ways, he's more holistic than many of the other scientists, but that's not the only bit of evidence you should look at. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's leave it alone. That's always the best thing to do when you don't know. Just don't choose it. Driver.
Okay. Well, in many ways, okay, yeah. Here's what's interesting. If you look at, obviously the movie is framed, and the storytelling of the movie, it seems it's really very framed by decision driver because all the hearings are leading up to a decision. But does that describe the whole story? Even the initiation of the Manhattan Project was a decision that got, Grove's decision to put Oppenheimer in charge was kind of an
He makes a
inciting
big
incident.
point of saying that.
Yeah. I feel like all the major events are decisions.
Well, we also don't
so
see
where do
the
we
bomb
start,
dropping
though? The
either.
start is the problem for decision driver, for decision action.
Yeah.
Because it really kind of seems like and if you have a quick deliberation, maybe you can call it a decision. But he poisons the apple, and he's going to kill his professor. And he wakes up the next morning and realizes that the apple's poisoned and it's on the desk. And
That is
he
not
was-
a story, that's not a story driver, that's a main character. That's a main
Yeah.
character.
Right, that doesn't turn
that's
the
what
plot.
gets him. That is how he meets Niels Bohr and is told to go to Germany for his education because he's going to stagnate doing this lab crap.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that might still be like backstory. I don't
Because
know.
otherwise
if,
he'd be stuck in England.
Hmm.
Well,
Cambridge.
poisoning the apple is an action.
But but I think that deciding to get the apple might be the decision. But where would you see the first decision if it's not that?
Decision to follow Niels Bohr's advice is the major turning point, and at that point of the chronology.
I can live with that since we arrive at the same place.
Yeah. um,
I just can't see an action other than the Nazis taking over countries. You know what I mean, and forcing everybody to.
Well, the action that
move.
that if you want to call his learning in England all main character, then what seems to throw us into the overall story of making the bomb is Hitler's invasion of Poland.
So I see that as an action, isn't it?
well, there's
And
also
there
when they
is the
split
publication-
the atom.
The Nazi publication of splitting the atom.
It's a trial, so it's like automatic decision, and everything
I
moves
know.
forward. Like, you want to come
It's
work?
two trials,
Yeah, it's all.
although they're not trials, so they tell us.
but look, okay, all right. So the bomb test Trinity is successful, okay, but that in itself doesn't turn the story. What turns the story is decision or the whole process of, okay, now the government has decided we're not going to involve you anymore. We're just going to take it from here, and then it's Truman. You know, Truman makes a big point.
We have to pick
of-
where to go, pick where to drop.
Right. It
Remember,
was
there's that
Truman's
whole
decision.
scene with the FDR.
Yes,
Oh,
we bombed Japan, but we didn't actually see it. But a big point was made that the onus is on Truman for making that decision, and that's a huge turning point. It wasn't the dropping of the bomb; it was the deciding to drop the bomb, which
My bad.
is Truman's legacy to this day. I mean, you know, so I think this. It seems to be very decision driven.
Okay.
including the conclusion that I mean, okay, look, the hearing ended with a decision that they would not renew his security clearance. Was that a huge deal? Well, it was in the moment, but then public opinion and the presidential honor and all that then was kind of another deliberation / decision that change, that kind of changed the story. So anyway, but you're right. I think this is intentionally not framed by actions. It was framed by deliberations and decisions.
I can go with decisions.
I think Chris lost the screen again.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm back.
The share screen. Okay.
So just that sounds good. Alrighty, limit, time lock or option lock?
Well, we don't know when the Nazis are going to develop the bomb first. It's a race, but it's not a race against time. It's a race against each other, which is an option lock. But also, we don't know how long the Japanese are going to, keep fighting. And so, that the whole point is the war could just keep going on and on and on. And
But that's
so
not, but I mean, if you're looking at the whole story, then you've got to include everything up, including the
Strauss hearing.
Senate, yeah.
right. And so the options are, the Strauss hearing, his confirmation hearing, which again is just one part of the story, but who are the witnesses who will, either benefit Strauss or go against Strauss. And that doesn't work out so well, but still you're going through a series of options. And as someone would point out, if you were to look at Strauss as a protagonist, if you were to frame it that way, he is certainly going through his options of how do we make Oppenheimer look bad. And that includes the way he's framing the hearing and all that.
So this is Nick, and I see the options as ways of using nuclear energy, and so we're briefly exposed to a nuclear reactor. We are primarily concerned with the use of the bomb, but in the use of the bomb, there's the option of, do we use it as a threat, or do we use it as an actual demonstration of our prowess? And then the next option would be, how do we contain the bomb? And Oppenheimer is for international control through the sharing of knowledge and through the United Nations. And Truman is no way going to be including the Russians on anything. And then we also have the option of what's going to happen with the arms race. And those are the options that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I think it definitely has the feel of a option lock story, and if you're focusing on the black and white sections, then it certainly does seem to be well, just if you just focus on that part, it's definitely what's his name, the Strauss getting all of his ducks in a row and making sure that he has enough votes to be made a permanent, as a permanent secretary. He's the acting secretary of commerce, but he wants to actually be he's been nominated for the permanent position. And he wants that. But either case, I think it all pretty much has that option lock feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so outcome, success or failure. This is gonna be a tough one.
I guess we have to determine what the goal is.
Yes,
don't
do.
we?
I think we do. So let's leave that one. Was it okay? Let's skip that for a moment. Judgment, good or bad?
It's definitely good. No, it's bad.
Jeez.
Actually, I will argue for good.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, because the last shot of him, chronologically, is he tells Kitty that when she says that the world won't forgive you for doing the bomb. This is 2 or 3 years after the bomb has already been done. All right, and this is after his hearing. And the last shot is he says, and she says, the world won't forgive you. And he looks at her and he says, we'll see. And he's nodding his head. It's the same kind of ending as in like, that Scottish dude back in the Middle Ages.
Braveheart.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, chronologically, isn't he getting the medal at the end? No, I don't know. It feels like it's.
Well, yeah, he gets the medal at the end. Yeah, that's several years later, kind of as a coda, in my opinion. But
yeah, but the end of the movie is the Earth.
No, I'm in agreement that it's.
And he feels guilty for it.
I think it almost. I think the way that the ending kind of at least works for me is it's very existential. So it's almost like you could see it as in, like, no matter what happens, he's always going to be in that bad judgment, like, for the rest of his life, kind of. At least that's kind of how I interpret it. But
see, I did not see him retract his judgment of let's use the bomb. I don't think he feels bad about that. I think what he feels bad about is people being upset with him.
Mm,
Remember,
I didn't really get that from the very
I think
end.
it's the difference when he goes and sees Truman, and he's basically acting because he feels like it's his fault, and Truman, kind of makes a big point of they're not going to look at you and think that it's the person who used the bomb that they're going to be all upset with, not the one that.
No, he goes to Truman with an agenda, and the agenda is to contain the use of nuclear weapons.
Right.
Nuclear energy.
Well,
And the
that's
way
what
to
he
do
goes
it
there for. But
Right.
he says, they're going to blame me, and Truman says, no, they're going to blame me because I'm the one who dropped the bomb. And then he says, get that
Crybaby.
crybaby out of my
Yeah.
office. I don't want to see him again. So he definitely feels really guilty about it, and I don't think he feels good about it at all. And that's one of the reasons why I think he, allows himself to get trashed.
Well, I think it's the artist's intent in this case to end it on a bad note. Whether, I mean, and look, it's mixed. It's not, really binary, but I think it's intended to lean to the bad side because that's what the artist wanted us to feel.
Right.
So that's why I would vote for bad, even though if you do lay it out chronologically, I think he ends up in a reasonably good place by the internal timeline, but the movie is intended to give us that kind of depressing feeling at the end. So
if we broaden out judgment from the main character and use the general question is, has the angst in the story been resolved? Then I would agree with you. Most of the angst in the story is still present.
Yes, that's what we would use for judgment, not for outcome, but for judgment.
Right.
I think the artistic intention, I believe, is a success bad. Now, how is it? That was my feeling. How is it a success logistically?
Well, they didn't blow up the world.
True. We want the war.
Yeah,
you're right. Right. But
the war was ended.
We'll come back. We can come back to
We
that.
stopped a bad guy from getting his, someone who was anti-Oppenheimer stopped him from his evil connivings. So yeah, it's a success, but it's, it's got that undercurrent of
high costs,
unresolved issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and high costs, clearly. Yeah. Okay. Well, gee, it's only taken us an hour. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to stick through at least with the domains. Okay. Maybe the concerns.
So here we are in the domains, and anybody have a suggestion for where we think the domains should be for this movie?
I kind of feel like it's activity
for the overall story, or for the main character?
For the overall story.
Okay.
It feels like it's centered around building things, creating things. I don't know. That's more where I got a lot of it.
Yeah.
Figuring out who's responsible, like understanding or obtaining. There's a lot of those that I felt more towards, but
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of which if you were to put that there, they put Oppenheimer in situation because he's the doer, and I think situation does describe Oppenheimer's domain, but as I was watching it, the second I saw it the first time in the theater, I watched it, on streaming this weekend, but it felt to me. It just felt to me that there was so much manipulation, that it is so much about how people think, that I would posit, psychology or manipulation as possibly the overall story. I don't know if that fits in terms of the stop-start. I don't know, but it felt really it just felt like manipulations were the things that were kind of creating the conflicts.
Right, that's the thing that's important, is look for where the conflict is. So if you look at the conflicts between the scientists, you know, it didn't seem to be activity so much as, you know, what, don't do that. If you start doing that, people are going to start thinking you're, you know, something else. You know, he gets from Lawrence. So it's, you know, he's a good
Right,
character.
Lawrence. Even the communist guy, what was his name? Can't remember his name, but look, you know, obviously you look at Strauss, but even
Chevalier.
more Chevalier, right? There was a lot of, you know, how do you think kind of questions going on. But even more so, not only Strauss, but the guy, was his name Rob in the hearing, that the really obnoxious lawyer who was extremely manipulative. I mean, that's just that was dripping with manipulation. But the reason manipulation was so interesting here is because, as we pointed out, the Rami Malek character suddenly walks in and exposes Strauss, you know, and certain other people were on the other side of how, you know, there's how we think about Oppenheimer on one side, and there's, you know, the others who say, well, I think we should think favorably about Oppenheimer. So that's a big part of the overall story, is how the world thinks about Oppenheimer.
So we are doing overall story now, right?
Yes, that's what
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I've known people in the occupational field of politics, and it seems to fit what was going on.
Yeah, it's very
The
political.
overall
for
story.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, in all the different occupations, you know,
So
of the
this is
human
Nick.
race.
And,
Yes, Nick.
and I agree with Sandy on the main character being situation, and the special part about him is his American expertise in quantum physics, and his ability to be a manager, to put a project together. And those seem to be things that might go with him in any other story. And so, well, it's not a physicality, it's still a status of his, as the father of also quantum physics in America, bringing it home, or the birth maiden, to bring it birth, whatever it's called. Anyways, but between activity and manipulation in the overall story, I was conflicted, and I do think that a case can be made for the activities, and you see a lot of problems arising from actions, as in like the compartmentalization attempts. The breaking of compartmentalization by the scientists causes lots of conflict. The brother attending the communist meetings causes conflict with not allowing the brother to be for a long time on the on the Manhattan Project. His seeing Jean Tatlock and insisting on seeing Jean Tatlock causes conflict in getting his, causes conflict in delaying getting his security clearance. The telling of the Elton guy, when he goes to see Pasha, when Oppenheimer goes to see Pasha, creates a lot of conflict, and Groves has to go out and protect Oppenheimer by getting Pasha transferred over to London. The activities of the Russians in doing the bombs, and in trying to catch up, and in doing the whole arms race, that's an activity thing. It's not a manipulation thing. But I'm, again, the things posited for manipulation were very good also, and those are the same things that I found there. So I was conflicted, but I just wanted to put out a case for activity.
But when you see the areas where there actually is real conflict, the things you're describing happen, but so for instance, like the clearances, there's no physical problem with him getting a clearance. It's clearly because they think he's not, trustworthy or whatever like that, which is definitely the psychology issue. The effects of the bomb,
Now, would that be
psychologically.
really, and I realize that we can't go where we're going, but where I would say, but that trust issue would seem to be really in fixed attitude more than changing processes of thinking.
Well, that may be true. I definitely think it's an internal problem, internal issue. It's not an external issue. That was the point that I was making. It's not a physical issue. It's definitely a mental issue.
Can I add something to it?
Of course.
There are two things that I thought were super clear. One, it's a memory play because it's all about what do you remember? It's completely.
The whole thing is all about memory, right?
It's like classic. And then the other thing was his main character through line is all the the things going, all the things, seeing the water droplets, like the personal experience is him consumed with, figuring out the mysteries of the universe and putting it all together and not really appreciating what it is that he's actually doing until the very end. Like those two concerns and activities. So I would put Oppenheimer in physics, and then the bulk of
that seems to fit. Yeah.
what's that? I'm sorry.
Well, with physics,
you put Oppenheimer in physics. Duh.
I didn't even think about that. Holy shit! Yes, totally, totally. I mean, oh, that's hilarious. So, and then all the ideological stuff, like, are you a communist? You got to keep that down. Oh, we're just like dock workers. And then what do you remember, Senator? I don't remember this. I don't, he was guilty. And then Rami Malek comes in and reveals everything. They put him on trial and they're like asking him all these different questions. I would just, those two are like super clear to me. Especially the personal experience, like watching it again, like right before this class I was watching, I was like, at first I was like, I don't know what the heck the Storyform is on this thing. But that really stood out as his
and he's trying to figure out he also personally is trying to figure out how things work. He wants to know how they literally, how does this work? The visualization he's seeing, he's recognizing these patterns, the drops of water on the pond and how they look like the collisions, the collisions of the rings. Yeah, I mean, visually, that's what seemed like the director was trying to show us the things that he's imagining that might be representational of these concepts that he's struggling with.
Yeah, that does feel more right now that I kind of think about it. It's kind of hard. This one was really hard because I really other than a couple ideas, I definitely got more of the past, understanding that kind of a feel of things. But because I feel like the development of the bomb, because otherwise I could see manipulation and stuff as the overall story, but it feels like if you took out the bomb element, there's no story. I mean, yes, there's a lot of manipulation and stuff going on, but it feels like it's all centered around.
There's no overall story, right?
And I would say too, I really don't think Strauss is an obstacle character. I thought it was Kitty and Jean, but if you look at the obstacle character being in developing a plan and situation, and so, that sounds more like Strauss than anything. I mean, it seems like there's a lot. I thought he was more just an antagonist sort of thing, but I could see him in that realm trying to figure out his way. How can I get my way into here?
Right.
What are people thinking? Somebody mentioned earlier, what are people thinking about me? That kind of stuff.
Well, and then
that would probably support the handoff impact character because
Gene is also trying to bring that to his attention.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, don't you realize what they're planning? Don't you realize what they're doing here? You've got to think about what it is that they're doing, you know? Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Look
you
at
see,
that
I
you
don't think
see,
that was Gene. I think that was Kitty. Gene says, "You don't piss off the excuse me. Don't tick off the people who understand you. You might need them someday."
right. Again, yeah, that's sort of understanding how things fit, how they work.
right. But you certainly see, I mean, like you look at the concerns, like Kitty is the one who's playing a role, but Strauss is the one who's developing a plan. So yeah, I think I could be comfortable with that arrangement.
Well, let's explore that. So this is the main character. And so this is overall story. Sorry. All right. Well, and then, you know, with if the overall story is in fixed attitude and we have, you know, truth, falsehood, evidence, suspicion, here's your trial right there. Your non-trial trial. I mean, all pretty much all aspects of it.
And for Oppenheimer personally, senses and interpretation. You know,
very
instinct
important.
and conditioning true, but senses and interpretation are probably better. So yeah.
Well, there's a lot of prediction. I feel like too, and that'd be in the RS.
Yeah.
Fate, destiny. Oh yeah.
That's
When they talk about fate, yeah, okay.
okay. Well, then let's look in. So are we looking at? We want to go down the main character or the overall story thread?
Rabbit hole.
Sure.
You're the main character.
Yeah, that's what I decided. That's why I was double clicking just as you said that. Okay. So you know what you got the one thing you have is the aware, self-aware. In that, if you're looking at it as a change character where self-aware aware becomes perhaps the solution, where he's completely sort of self-absorbed and then he's realizing, oh, everybody else, what's going on? How does everybody else, what's happening with everyone else? I mean, it's a possibility.
I like it going the other way.
Or he starts off at aware and goes to self-aware.
Yeah, totally tuned into everything. I got to be aware of all this stuff, and then at the end,
He's like incredibly
What if I-
self-conscious.
Right. Oh, what have I done?
yeah,
Well, also we get some of the sort of abstract physics or space or whatever he's thinking about, but we really start to get more of the, you know, like hallucination kind of elements like after the bomb. I don't know if that, I feel like I don't know exactly where I would pinpoint his change, but I would say it's probably after the bomb.
Oh, right, it is. It's when I mean, basically, we know that he's changed when he meets Einstein again.
But
It's
that might be
like,
playing in with the self-aware. Some of those kind of vision-y things. I don't know.
well, yeah.
So we lost you a little bit there, Chris.
Oh, I thought that was
And
my
the
phone.
sound effects.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
Okay. Could you say all that again? You dropped out
Oh,
for a moment.
my internet is unstable.
Yeah, I get that.
I was just saying, you know,
Probably atmospheric ignition. Don't worry about it.
I won't. I was just saying, you know, the way that Oppenheimer's through line is explored uses a lot of visuals and sound effects to great effect to let us know what's going on inside his head, what he's thinking, what he's feeling.
well, and when the sound totally goes out, right? Like when the bomb goes off.
Right, right. The complete absence of any sound. And then the boom. Yeah, no, it's that definitely senses seems really, really strong to me.
And what sense of his is problematic? What physical sense?
He's trying to, basically, he is trying to use his senses to sort of register abstract concepts.
But how does
Yeah,
that create problems for him?
Because they're in effect, they're not sufficient.
Well,
He's
because
trying
they,
to-
they
And I
haunt him
see
in-
this where in the movie? I just
well,
like to see.
in his sleep, those images are haunting him in his sleep, and then he ends up being haunted by raindrops on the ground at the end because he just sees those as nuclear explosions. Like that's the experience of having those senses and being haunted by them in the middle of the night, waking up like in a cold sweat, but not being able to stop, right? And then he's got to throw glasses against the wall, like all these sort of things that he's seen and putting together, and then being confronted with the reality of what it is that you've done. Like it's right there in front of you, but it's in nature. Like that's a bit problematic to just hang out in the rain and you think nuclear war.
Right. And again, this is all in the context of understanding. So he's trying to grok it, but he's getting bits and pieces and he gets a sense of it, but all these visual and, for us, auditory clues aren't giving us the answer, but he's getting closer and closer. And then of course, once he's created it, then they're just become reminders. It's all part of his
Okay.
world. I mean,
I guess theory only takes you so far.
right. Well, that's what he kept on saying. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and we got theory over. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not-
that
I've
was
actually-
the thing.
I've actually started. Why, Nick? Were you going down the doing impulsive
Yeah,
responses, that
yeah,
quadrant? Because I'm looking
yeah.
at that too, and I'm seeing some good stuff there. I mean that's
But
all.
he doesn't-
What we've been talking about is good, but I was looking at doing, wisdom, theory and hunch, but proven and unproven, which there is a lot in the plot of, because proven, unproven, if that's the problem solution, would also be in the overall story. And there's a lot of that going on, throughout the objective plot. So I'm just trying to see if a good case can be made going down that.
It's almost like the Spideyverse expectations.
Before you do that, can you look at the objective story with aware and self-aware? Because there's something really cool there.
Evidence.
whereas the
Abil-
symptom or problem.
Aware is the problem.
Yeah.
Ability and desire, evidence. Let's see. Prediction.
So I loved evidence, and then I thought, desire, and then getting the ability to get the bomb, who has the ability to do, making ourselves capable based on fear.
Well, and then the other thing, one of the things that I did feel like kind of where I saw a little bit more of his change was it felt like he was able to justify doing the bomb and everything because it's like we're going to end all war. But then when it's just like, okay, well now it's the end of World War II, but it's just the beginning of the Cold War, and now we're just going to just keep going, and this is not going to end. That feels like that could maybe be a little bit of desire. It's just like the desire keeps going. I don't know. Even after the ability.
Yeah, I would see that as fear of communism, fear of the Nazis taking over.
Yeah, and it's just that's just going to be perpetuated.
And then also, what are your motivations? Why are you really here? Are you here to install your communist ideology into?
Are you or have you ever been a member of the Dramatica Users Group?
I lost my card. I've been looking for years.
That's right.
Okay, well, let's look at the story engine and see what we've got. Oh, we still have a couple things to choose. And of course, our problems are this linear or holistic problem-solving style has not been chosen.
Do we have unique ability, and what do we have there?
Instinct or conditioning. And then the critical flaw of state of being or sense of self.
Would sense of self be like egotistical? I don't know
Not
if that's a good
it
illustration
doesn't
of that.
necessarily, it just means, who you think you are, what do you think of yourself? It might be that you think too much, but it doesn't have to be. It's just that as a critical flaw, him as his sense of self, if he was thought too much or too little or
Because he definitely seems to have like a grandiose sense of self throughout most of the first half, I would say.
and then what we have over here, the catalyst of truth or falsehood. Well,
I mean, would it be truth? I mean, would it be like,
I don't think so. I think falsehood is the thing that moves the story forward, especially if you're thinking about the black and white sections in the overall story, is, these lies that are basically being, well.
And what are the inhibitors? What are the inhibitors?
And the inhibitors are fate and destiny. Yeah.
Oh. I would pick destiny on that. But
and then we have an influence character, unique ability of state of being and sense of self. Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, that feels like the info. I'm getting more of a sense of self vibe from the main character.
Wow, that's really wild. I don't think I've noticed that one before, where
They flip.
the inverse of what the main character says. I don't think I've seen that before. It's not always that way, is it? I don't think so.
I don't think
no,
so.
but sometimes it lines up that way.
Fate and destiny is over here too. Wow. Oh, that's because it's the obvious. Oh, yeah, it's just this truth and falsehood. So, I think truth is probably right. Yes. Well, let me just pick one and let's see. So, unique ability, instinct, which is where and sense of self. Okay, that's what we were hinting toward. Catalyst of truth, and that's where I think they're using the bludgeon of the information that was in his private, the file, the FBI file, which is all true, and but those truths are the things that are creating more conflict. The inhibitor is destiny.
But we should see several instances of where truth accelerates the conflict, right?
Yes, we should. Well, I think, you see, well, clearly toward the end it does.
Well, isn't it all about truth and finding out exactly what the atom and hydrogen and everything does?
Well, not really, because we're looking really more at the overall story being principally about the conflict between Strauss and Oppenheimer, or Strauss's after Oppenheimer kind of snubs him, Strauss's Dex is trying to. Hey,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Hold on 1 sec. I'm going to.
So if I were to make an argument for truth, and I'm not 100% on board with this one, but if I were to make that argument, I would say that truth with Pasha and revealing the truth about Eltenheim accelerates the problems between Groves and Oppenheimer, that the scientists wanting truth, when they start wanting the truth of what's happening at the other scientific venues, that creates and accelerates conflict, such as going to Chicago, or Lawrence saying things that Groves doesn't want him to say at Los Alamos. I'm trying to think of some other places where.
Well, if you're not so big on the truth, which one would you consider more
Well,
valid?
I probably would have gone more with either theory and hunch or control and uncontrolled. I really saw the compartmentalization and the controlling and uncontrolling of nuclear energy and of information being where the story conflicts were, the majority of the conflicts, and corralling these scientists and controlling them, and them wanting uncontrolled, using the word, substituting in the sense of freedom and the ability for scientific dialogue going back and forth, and then controlling the information from the national enemies. That's where I saw
that's very
it
interesting. When
nowadays.
he comes back, be sure to point it out.
But Nick, let me ask you this. Okay, you're on the, when you're looking at the doing and impulsive responses quadrant, you're focused on theory and hunch.
Yeah,
And so
just because they said it so much,
true.
Theory will only take you so far. But then I was thinking,
proven. I mean, there's some interest. I mean, proven and unproven. I mean, certainly, part of the struggle is to prove that this can even work. But what's interesting is that in terms of what haunts Oppenheimer personally, I'm looking at, I'm not, would need to take time to think this through to see if the overall fits. But the unending thing, because it's like there's a chance we could set off, a chain reaction that will never end. And
well, no, I don't think that wasn't the point. If you set up the chain reaction, we're all done for.
Right, but that falls under enlightenment.
He admits he set off a chain reaction. It just wasn't the chain reaction that of atmospheric ignition. It was a chain reaction of atomic race, the atomic bomb race.
And that's why I'm almost kind of looking. I like enlightenment. I like the wisdom and enlightenment pair, and I do kind of like that quad of result process, ending and unending, and here's the thing: if result process is the problem solution, and you go down to the overall story, you see result process accurate and non-accurate, and of course, accurate and non-accurate is, are you within tolerances or not, and the fact that you had any association whatsoever with communist, party members is, it becomes a symptom of non-accurate, that you're outside tolerance because you once associated with it. That's just one example, but there's a lot of, of outside tolerance, conflicts throughout the story, but the politics of everything. So again, I haven't taken any time to see this through, but that is kind of where I'm gravitating. So I don't know if the rest of the story form would support, that. So I'm just throwing that out there because I do have to go pretty soon. Yeah. So anyway, just for your consideration, just in case you want to try an alternate. If with Nick's approval, of course. Yeah. Anyway, I actually do have
realities.
That's right. As long as you approve. So anyway, no, I should get going. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Sandy.
This was fun and thought provoking. So I'll find out from you, Chris, what we're doing next month. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we'll make that decision right at the end.
Okie dokie. Alrighty. Thanks,
Did-
guys.
All right.
Bye.
I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay. So, Jim, did you want to speak to this one at all anymore or not? About the story
No,
form?
just to say, I have a hard time seeing Strauss as the obstacle character, but I mean, situation, like he's up for the thing. Projection where, projecting what Einstein thinks of him, desire and ability. I mean, I can see it also in Kitty and in Jean for sure. But I would have to say, I guess he could be an obstacle character in there. And for the relationship story, it's like the consequences of your actions playing out, like predicting. There's so much prediction with his wife and him when they're talking about, it starts the first time they go riding up on the plains, and she's talking about her ex-husband who, he was a noble guy because he went and fought for the Spanish Revolution. Oppenheimer thought he was great. She thought it was a waste of time.
Well, and it was predictably he ended up dying, right? That was kind of like,
Yeah. And so I just thought that was really, really great. And kind of maybe even a little bit of Einsteinish stuff in there too, where it's like, we don't have control over what people say about us. This is just like what we've done. And this is what you have to live with, the fate, being the
Right.
person that invented this or didn't invent that. Yeah, I was really surprised because I didn't, when I first saw it, I was like, I really loved it, obvious reasons, success bad. But I was not sure if there was a story for him, but I didn't really care. And then, I watched it right before the class today, and this one just popped up. Definitely the aware and self-aware, because certainly Oppenheimer is completely unaware, right? So focused on aware that he's unaware. And then the other people he encounters are really self-aware, especially Strauss is completely, self-important, and they're pointing out the self-importance. So I just thought that dynamic between those two elements was really strong.
yeah, it's interesting. If
then
you
in
think
the
of
OS
Strauss as an influence
Oh, go ahead.
character, and in the relationship through line, the problem is equity. Meaning that, that's like we're equals, and they aren't, he's not treating them as an equal.
Yep.
And
Definite power
that's
imbalance with a lot of it.
right. And that's a huge source of conflict for Strauss. Is that
Strauss.
it's that he feels that he's an equal, but he's being treated as
A lowly shoe salesman.
a lowly shoe salesman. Yes, that's right. For his own words, exactly.
It's fun. We always want to find like all these different people, but it really is just those are the two strongest candidates. Because the whole shoe salesman thing is very much the whole equity between the two of them. That's great.
Right. But he sees himself as an equal, and that's where that's why it's the source of conflict.
So just a little backstory on that invite.
You're a little quiet there, Nick. I'm not sure why you're. Yeah.
Is this better? Am I?
There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
A little backstory is just that. So Strauss said that he went to Oppenheimer to get him to the IAS, which is when we see the first thing when we see Strauss and Oppenheimer together, and he says that's a great commute. And actually, Strauss was on that same list, except he was number 5 and Oppenheimer was number 1.
Oh.
So
that is interesting. That's certainly what also. I mean, it's not in the movie, but that supports the same kind of why he would have that feeling that
be so touchy. And then there's the whole dialogue about.
And he would be
so
sort
are
of
you?
We're on the same list.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tangentially, if he admitted to using screenwriter, And everybody that admits to using Screenwriter always has really strong story forms. I wish they would just admit that they've also bought the company's other product, which is
Well,
dramatic.
which I can't say officially on this.
I'm saying like right, because you know that, but I'm saying it is a very strong correlation that the people who say, "Oh, I use Movie Magic Screenwriter," also have, at the very least, 4 really strong through lines in all their stories.
Projection, speculation.
It's a sign from God. It's a sign from God.
And just say, "Oh, by the way."
Well, yes, let's move on.
Well, but looking at this story form, and so people see in the OS, people see desire as the problem.
Yeah, like I would say the fears. The thing that I would pick up on were the fears of communism taking over, or Nazis getting the
Yeah,
bomb.
desire as a fear, not as a negative. So
Okay, okay.
And then also, what is your motivation? Like, why are you guys gathering together to create a union or something? Is it because you guys are communists? Like, what's really going on there? The desires between what's his name and Gene, which they pull out in the open and to insult his wife or whatever, in front of everything. And then moving towards
well, what can you do for us?
Yeah. and getting to the capability, getting the ability to blow people up, right? Like, I mean, to get the ability of the bomb is the
Right.
response.
He gets his pass because he's uniquely able, and so they give it to him because of his abilities, even despite their fears that he has this baggage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he's a womanizer, all that stuff. Yeah, totally.
Right. So there are all these negatives, his desires. What is he going after?
It's
Those
like
are
the
all
desire
negative, but
overwhelms all of that.
well, no, that's what they see as the problems with Oppenheimer, why they don't want to give him a clearance, but then they give him a clearance because nobody else can do what he can do. He's his
They
ability.
need his
Mhm.
knowledge,
No, they need his abilities.
abilities,
Yes.
Right.
because they
his
don't have the
ability-
knowledge yet. They're learning the knowledge.
No,
it-
it's more than just smarts. He was picked because he could manage the problem. The
Yes,
problem was
exactly.
putting it practically into implementation for a physical weapon.
So are
And
we
all
going
the
to try
parts together.
another combination here, or is this
Well, this is seeming to hold up pretty well, which is why we're going over the
Okay.
different story points. So that was the responsive ability. That's in the overall story. That's where I think that does seem to work well. And then even in the relationship, we also have a symptom and response of desire and ability. And
Well,
uh,
well, one thing I know is that the writer, director, producer, everybody knows what happens in the future in Oppenheimer's family. It's not part of the plotting, but it kind of repeats what has already happened. So anyway,
I'm not sure what you mean by that, Trish.
that's all right. I mean, I happened to read something about Oppenheimer's daughter, after he and his wife passed away. And so and I thought that the people that wrote the screenplay and did the movie, they were aware of continuing certain themes, so I just thought that was interesting, tragic,
Oh, okay.
but interesting, how this does hold up even more out of the,
Oh, the movie does, yes.
yes, it even holds up what happened, in the future anyway.
So looking at the influence character, if we're thinking about Strauss, clearly having manipulation as his domain or psychology is, I think, very appropriate, as well as developing a plan, not only on how to destroy someone he sees as being his nemesis, but also, his own plan to make it big, so to speak. But if you look down at the problem of projection, which I think is exactly what we see in when Alfred, Einstein walks by him after he's spoken with Oppenheimer, and he projects as to what possibly could have made Einstein, ignore him. And he takes it all, it's like projecting his own fears about what could have been said. He must have spoiled it. It's his, and he sort of, that projection is what has created that source of serious conflict for him. And again, it plays into his fears of feeling, perhaps he's not as desirable as Oppenheimer. He's a lesser. That's a thought.
So projection also works in the sense of just focusing on Strauss for the minute, and not some of the other folks. But so he has projected onto Oppenheimer that Oppenheimer has turned, and he's projected upon the scientists that they have turned on him, that they were turned on him by somebody. He also projects that if you don't agree with me, then you're not a patriot, and you need to be gotten rid of. So those were at different points in the story.
Yeah, I think that works well, but they come up though in terms of his sort of like his anger, his, desire.
And the solution he doesn't reach is what the congressional handler said, which is the speculation. Maybe that talk at the pond wasn't about you. Did you ever think about that?
Exactly. Yeah. No, he never reaches that, but yes, that's exactly right.
Could we go over the static plot points? Because goal of memories and consequence of the past and cost of developing a plan, I'm not 100% sure with.
Okay, depending on if the overall story is really about the conflict between it's the, let's see, if the overall story is basically about that non-trial trial, right? That's kind of what it's about.
Yeah.
And which also, includes that's its own backstory of the Oppenheimer trial, non-trial, right? Then I think part of a lot of it has to do with being remembered. How are people going to remember you? Or in this, are you going to be remembered? And, Oppenheimer is, and Strauss is, well, maybe he is, but certainly not in even remotely the same kind of way.
That's what the award is.
Right. At the end. Wait, that's right.
Could you say, and I'm not sure that this is a right use of memories, but that the goal was to pull out the right memories? So we have, is Oppenheimer our protagonist?
I would say so.
What?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would seem to me that he is. So in his protagonist goal, he's trying to emphasize the right memories, and then all the overall characters are concerned with memories, one way or the other, finding memories, creating memories, putting forth the correct memories.
And part of that memories thing is just, it's like remember what happened. You know, remember everything about what the bomb did. You know, what bombs do. And, and ultimately it does it was within the context of the movie that wasn't forgotten. Don't forget, I guess another way to think of it is don't forget how dangerous this is. That might be an even
Okay.
better thing.
Yeah, because certainly towards the second half of after the bomb blew, Oppenheimer dedicated his life to trying to persuade the American people that the atom bomb was not really a great thing.
Well, it was a necessary thing, but it's not something that should be,
it needs to be controlled.
Yeah. Well, it needs, right. It needs, it's dangerous, and it's better to be used as a way to create, I don't want to say stalemate, but rather than as a weapon, it's as a threat of a weapon, as opposed to a weapon one uses.
Right. And consequence of the past.
Well, I think you certainly, I think the consequence of the past would be, if you forget what we did, then you're doomed to repeat the past. That's basically, I think, the message of the story. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the cost definitely would be a huge amount of money developing a plan again.
Well, that's the developing a plan that's not a future thing. That is over the course of the story. There was a plan that had to be done, and that's the thing that costs. So
Okay.
Depending if you're looking at it as the development of the bomb, and they talked about how, $3 billion or whatever it was. But I think also, looking at it, since developing a plan is in the psychology domain, looking at it as the plan to sort of destroy Oppenheimer, there's some heavy costs that come with that. Especially you end up with Strauss. He sets these plans in motion, and then they end up sort of destroying his opportunity for
Dang that nobody, know nothing JFK.
Right.
Who'd be president in about 2 years.
Exactly.
But is this a correct use of developing a plan for cost where, so in developing the bomb and in developing nuclear energy usage, there were a lot of plans that were cast aside, different versions of using nuclear energy. And so in order to get to the goal, we had to cast aside different plans.
Well, possibly another way of looking at that from stuff that's actually in the movie is that because these plans were made, the Russians got them. And
right.
So that would be a cost.
Well, and what I said was in the movie too, because you have Teller saying, let's do the H bomb. You have Sizzled from Chicago saying,
yes, okay, right.
Let's just, since Germany surrendered, let's not use the bomb at all. And those are different plans, and they got cast aside.
But I'm not sure what the cost of that was. Those are definitely plans, but I'm not sure how they are cost. Whereas having your chief, rival get your plans, that was a cost of succeeding.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't something that you wanted, and it wasn't intentional, but it is something that a negative that happened over the course of the story, right?
So the enemy developing a plan is the plan that was the cost.
Well, or you developed a plan that then became that the enemy then stole.
Right.
That would be the cost, or was given or whatever. And the dividends of understanding was like they learned they came up with a whole lot greater understanding of nuclear physics, including the H-bomb. I mean, a lot of things that are perks along the way.
I know, like
that-
would
that were
Dramatica
not
even exist
necessary, but definitely
without this whole wave and particle
ultimately maybe
business?
were benefits.
Chris, you cut out. I'm sorry. There
So,
you are.
yeah. So I mean, I was just saying share the requirements of contemplation. You've got all those brainstorming sessions of you've got to have to come up with the ideas of think about how we're going to do all of that. You've got tons of those scenes where they there's something that has to be done, and then they figure out how to do it. They're putting a lot of brain power to it.
Well, and then I would also add that so there's the contemplation of which cities to strike. Then there's a contemplation of what happens if you develop the H-bomb and Rabi's drawing the compass on the map. These are the cities, and this is how wide it would get destroyed with this kind of radius.
But even also when we think about the all of the whole hearing, you have to go through these different parts of it that everybody has to understand and think about what his qualifications are, what the witnesses say. So that's we probably would need, if we're doing a story analysis, full story analysis, we'd come up with specific examples.
Okay. Well, the signposts are decent enough.
The what? Oh, the signposts? Oh.
Yeah.
So we have now for main character learning, understanding, doing, obtaining, or in this case, losing. I mean, the last act is all about his losing his credential.
I guess I'm a little confused on how it's a success, or how the story would be different if it were a failure. If it is a success.
Well, isn't that they succeeded in creating the bomb?
But I don't know if that's the goal.
Okay. So we're back here with the goal of memory. Well, if the whole point of it is that you're trying to promote sort of the concept, don't forget. Oh yeah, so don't forget the importance of what Oppenheimer did and what he was standing for. Remember, one of the things that Strauss was saying is they'll forget the atom bomb, they'll do this, and they'll only be focusing on the H bomb, and he'll be completely forgotten. And remember, that was sort of how he's going to get rid of Oppenheimer, but that didn't happen because because Strauss was knocked out in the final inning, so as a result, Oppenheimer and the whole, what happened with the end of World War II with the bombs wasn't forgotten. And in the context of the movie, Oppenheimer wasn't forgotten. and, his contribution. I think that's how I would put that.
Okay.
And that's why it would be a success.
Yeah, I was struggling with what the goal was, because it felt like, yes, they're doing these trials, but they almost feel like they're not. Everybody kind of knows that they're not even that important, or that they're
Oh,
kind
I
of
guess
all
they were
rigged.
trying to bury him. That was what it was all about.
Well, they weren't, but Strauss was.
I meant Strauss. I meant that part of
Right. He
the-
felt that, if by elevating Strauss felt by elevating him, that would be sort of the culmination of that personal competition he was having with Oppenheimer. And his way of making sure Oppenheimer lost out was to completely destroy everybody, basically make everybody forget about it because of what happened, how he basically
I
run
guess he forgot.
kangaroo court.
I guess he forgot about Legend, because who could forget Prometheus, right? I mean,
Well, no, that was the Prometheus. The Prometheus quote at the beginning, I think, is much more about the main character through line.
right,
That's
but also okay. Well, then there's the main character and the influence character.
right. But I mean,
Who
as a main character, Oppenheimer, he went through this process where he created and brought something to the world for which he was
Never
personally
forgotten.
personally punished because he became he became so self-aware of what he had done and how the negative potential of what he had done. Whereas while he was doing it, he was like, "Yeah, it's no problem. It's so fine, it's fine." And then the gravity of what he had done sunk in, and not only, I mean, and you get a lot of that. The pushback while he was going through that from his wife, from his girlfriend, his lover, even from some of the other characters and the other scientists and such. It's sort of like they collectively sort of push that, but then in the newer time, Strauss seems to fill that portion of the
I see.
story.
It coalesces in Strauss.
Yes, it does. It's a really, really interestingly constructed movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't try this in a million years.
Oh no, and I really enjoy. I enjoy it. It felt right. It wasn't logicking right from a Dramatica sense, but it felt right from a Dramatica sense, which was a strange dichotomy.
Yeah.
And that's because there's so much story weaving going on, which is a hallmark of the director and his brother.
Well, I guess anything with the bomb is not going to be milquetoast.
Well, let's hope not.
Well, there'd be toast, but that's a different thing.
Well, I think this is a good story form for it. I suspect it's there may be another interpretation that might be good. Because this does seem to hit fairly well on the
And it does make
emotional side.
Strauss, it does make Strauss more of a substantial character.
Right, it does.
That he
It
was.
is consistent. Yeah, it is consistent with the amount of time screen time he has.
In all the different scenes and times. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any questions? No questions.
No.
All right. Well, then we have to figure out what we're going to do next month. So different than we've done for all the years before, it's always been sort of programmed out, but, how about, I'd say something fun, either a musical or an animated film.
Hmm.
What's the animated film that's up for an Oscar by, Geely?
Oh, yeah, the boy in the heron. or
Blue
something.
Heron?
Yeah,
Is
let's
that
do
it?
that. I
Okay,
think
Is
boy
that,
in
is
the-
that out yet?
let me check.
boy in
I
the
think
heron.
I think it is. Is it on Disney? Let's see, hold on.
Mm. It looks like it might be in theaters though.
It's just in theaters. I don't think, is it out on streaming?
Oh, okay, well, hold on. It's the Blue Heron, right?
Boy and the Heron? Is that the
Oh,
one
the
you're
boy
talking
and the
about?
heron? Boy and the Blue Heron.
Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, it looks like it's in theaters. Yeah, okay, that'll be later. Yeah, it apparently is, let me just see if it's streaming. Oh, it might be on Netflix? No, I don't know.
No, you can pre-order it like for $20, but
No, I don't want to do that.
No,
we can wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will be, it's not available, who knows this? Yeah, it's gonna be a little while. Okay. Or a romantic comedy or something like.
How about those?
Let me go to bed now.
Pardon?
Oh, how about those suggestions that were on the discuss?
I didn't see any. I'd looked and I didn't see any.
There were some suggestions. Some people posted some suggestions.
Recently?
Yeah, the last month or two. Is
Oh,
Jim still
okay.
here?
You could
Yeah.
do, if you wanted to do fun, Chris, you could do Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but it's a really simple story. It's not very complicated.
Well, that might be a little too,
That was
not too simple.
somebody
Huh?
that was one that somebody had suggested. I can see what else other people are doing.
Let me see here.
I'm looking for fun stuff.
Well, I'm just trying to think of something that's.
I mean, the Holdovers was fun. Oh, you should do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Seriously?
Oh, gee.
Didn't like that? Oh, it was really fun.
I wonder who suggested that one.
Yeah, it's actually pretty decent. One of my students made it.
Okay.
Is it
let's see.
animated?
Yeah, it was one of the guys that made Mitchell's versus the Machines. That was his
Oh,
directorial debut. You were looking for fun animated stuff.
yeah. No, that's, if it's a good film, then that's okay.
You're reacting to the art style, I can tell.
What? I haven't
react-
seen it. I haven't seen it. I've just never been a fan of the. Okay, so it's on Apple.
Yeah, what is the
And
run?
it's on Netflix, it might, looks like it might be. Oh, if it's the same one.
Yeah, it's should be.
I know when it came out, people liked it a lot. I mean, there was something really solid about it.
Yeah, Mutant. Yeah, it's 95%.
Okay,
Mutant-
that works. Well, it looks like it's on everything.
yeah, that's Jeff.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Mutant Mayhem, right, Jim?
Yeah,
what's it called?
Mutant Mayhem.
No,
Oh.
wait a minute. It's not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, it is them, but because they had a TV series and they've had a number of other things. This
Oh.
particular version that came out in 2023 is Mutant Mayhem.
Okay,
That's
so what
that's
are
all
we?
it's called? Not, okay.
No,
let's-
it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles dash Mutant or
So-
colon Mutant Mayhem.
Oh, so it's
so-
it's Paramount Plus, it looks like.
So are we doing the Ninja Turtles movie, the original one, or?
It's from August of 23.
Oh,
Last
the
year.
23. Okay, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it is available. It began streaming on September 19th. Let's see. It's a Paramount Plus thing.
So we have to sign up for that for a month to
Yes,
see
yes,
it.
except you can get, you can sign up for their I think they might either have a $4.99 per month promotion, or might even have something cheaper than that.
Well, I think if you've done it before, they don't give you the promotion, but that's all right.
And then there's Prime, it's on Prime Video, Amazon Prime for $6 to rent.
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Okay. So
All right.
it's called Teenage Ninja
It's
Mutant
called
Nin-
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Mutant
Mutant Mayhem.
Mayhem. Okay. Okay.
Neat.
And it does come up in. Okay.
Yeah, Paramount Plus.
So
Which means
it's okay. That's a movie in its own, right? It's not.
Yes.
Yeah. it is a
Okay.
movie. And is it 3D animation?
Yeah.
But very stylized.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds fine to me.
Okay.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. Okay.
And the director
Um,
had a really great story teacher when he went to college.
So we'll
Take
have
a
to
bow,
make
take a
sure that it
bow.
has a good story for him.
He was actually really good at story. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah.
That's
It's
good.
story. Very, very funny. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank
Okay.
you guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank-
Happy Mardi Gras.
Yes.
Thank you.
Last
Thank
2
you
hours
for
to celebrate.
And happy VD tomorrow.
There you go.
and thank you for Dramatica.
Yes.
My pleasure. Hopefully I can get another Dramatica soon. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thing.
Bye.